You want to know something I've never really admitted before? I actually care what people think about me. I do. I mean, who doesn't really? I want people to take me seriously. I want people to treat me like a sensible adult that they can have an intelligent conversation with. I want people to consider my ideas to be valid. I want people to consider that there are reasons that I do the things I do. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen a lot. People take me kind of lightly, I think, a lot, and that frustrates me sometimes. I have a pretty extreme personality. I have a lot of beliefs and shall we say obsessions that people don't really take seriously. I'm vegan, which is a big joke to a lot of people. I'm straight edge, which is an even bigger joke to even more people. I'm obsessively enviro-friendly. I'm a feminist, I'm a Doctor Who nerd, I'm a bookworm, I'm an artist, I'm a drama nerd, and I am a big fat optimist, which people find really annoying and obnoxious sometimes, but I do believe that a positive outlook on life does improve your quality of life. A lot of times, I feel, I don't know, especially with like the straight edge and vegan things, which is kind of like the things that I'm known for, like that vegan girl, or like, you know, Tasha can't have cheese, or you know, don't give her any alcohol, she doesn't drink, which is really nice. Like, a lot of people do take it seriously, but I find that a lot of people at the same time, when I tell them why I do the things I do, they're kind of like, okay. I mean, it's been a long time since I've had a legitimate discussion with someone where I felt that they've actually taken me seriously, or that I've made an impact on their outlook on things. I think that it's really important, if you ever find yourself in a similar position, these are the things that you care about, these are the things that you think are important. It's important to care about these things. It's very, very, very important. For example, I recently started a group called REAL, short for recovering from emotional abuse with love. I went through an emotionally abusive relationship when I was 14. It ended for good when I was 16, but it was kind of on and off in between, and it has made a genuine impact on my life. It has made a very hard, very prominent and very huge impact on my life, and it still affects me on almost a daily basis. And people don't really give a lot of credit for that. I mean, when I started the group, it was kind of, we got a lot of response at the beginning. I had about 50 people like the Facebook page. We have like 20 followers on Tumblr. It's not much, but it was really encouraging. And then it really, really slowed down, and nothing really was happening. Nobody was submitting any stories. And I'm not gonna lie, I started to feel discouraged. I started to feel like, you know, people weren't taking this seriously, people don't understand, and I always feel like that, like people don't really, no, nobody understands me. It's not like that, but people don't take the time to think. Sometimes it's really difficult because you have to force someone to sit down and listen to you and be like, you know, look, this is why I think this is important, this is why I'm vegan, because I don't feel that we should be using animals to our advantage. I don't feel like we should be bringing a life into the world specifically with the intentions of torturing them or killing them at the end. I mean, if someone raised a kid with plans of killing them when they're, you know, 5 years old, people will be horrified. So why is it any different with animals? And why is it that, you know, we're horrified when people eat cats or dolphins or dogs, but, you know, we're totally fine with eating cows and chickens? Like, what is the real difference? There is no difference at all. And, you know, people are like, oh yeah, well, it tastes good. And, I mean, what kind of discussion is that? I mean, yeah, obviously it tastes good. I used to love the taste of meat, but there are things that sometimes you have to sacrifice for the things you care about, and people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to care. They want to distance themselves from these things that you think are important. They want to disassociate themselves with something that they feel is negative. I mean, everybody knows that the meat industry is terrible. Everybody who has talked to anyone who's vegetarian or vegan, anyone who's ever taken a look at, Food Inc. or Earthlings or any of the PETA videos, I'm not supporting, I don't support PETA at all, and their videos are very, very impactful and they're very powerful. But anyone who's ever taken a look at that, I mean, you cannot deny that the meat industry is a terrible thing, but people just choose to not think about it. They don't think about, yeah, this meat on my plate used to be a living sentient being, and if they do, they just kind of laugh it off as a joke because it's easier that way. It's easier to laugh it off than to actually take it seriously and think, hey, well, this isn't right. I don't think this is a good thing. But it's so important when you care about something. It sometimes means having to care less, having to sacrifice caring about what people think of you. So yeah, I care a lot about what people think of me, and I wish people would take me seriously, and I wish that maybe I could have more serious discussions with people about these things that I care about, the environment, like why I'm so obsessed with recycling, why I'm so obsessed with buying clothing secondhand, why I'm so obsessed with vegan organic products, why I don't believe in getting intoxicated, why I don't enjoy why I don't like the idea of getting intoxicated, why I love reading so much, why I think that drama and theater are incredibly important in society and are massively underrated, why I don't let people say that's so gay or call each other faggots. Like, these are things that people never really take seriously because, she's a theater student, and that's another thing. Like, when I tell someone, like, yeah, I'm a theater major, they look at me like, oh, well, that's nice. What are you planning on doing with that? Like, it's really condescending, and I just wish people would have more respect for each other's beliefs and take a moment to care, take a moment to think seriously about why people believe the things that they believe, and maybe try to put things into perspective. But unfortunately, most people are not like that, and most people will choose to distance themselves over emotionally compromising themselves in order to get on your level and have a serious and open discussion with you, and maybe exchange ideas that you will actually take into consideration. I will never have a discussion with someone and come out not vegan, because I don't believe that there are any arguments that could be possibly made against veganism. There's so much proof that it's the best thing you can do for yourself and for the environment that it's just overwhelming. And some of the arguments I get are still very, very, very ridiculous. And I guess people can probably see that as me being stubborn, but the thing is that I've already been on the other side. I did used to eat meat. I did used to not be vegan. I was a meat eater until I was 11, and then I was a vegetarian for 4 years, and I've been vegan for about 3.5 years now. So, I mean, I've been on the other side, and I have experienced both arguments, and I have experienced that conflict, and I felt that within myself there was no reason for me to remain an omnivore. But I haven't had a conversation like that with someone in a long time, and basically I haven't felt like I've made an impact in a long time. And I really want to feel like that, which is why I started Real, because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I know that people who have been emotionally abused, if you've ever been emotionally abused, it's very, very difficult because you're not taken seriously. People who have been physically abused will always be taken more seriously than emotional abuse, but the repercussions are often the same. I mean, in physical abuse, once the bruises are healed, all the trauma, the memories, the, PTSD, like it's the same thing as emotional abuse. Like, I still occasionally get panic attacks, and I occasionally get nervous, and I get anxious, and I have some trouble with relationships because of the one that really screwed me up. And people tell me, just let it go, it's okay, because it's in my power to let it go. Or they think that I shouldn't have let him talk to me like that, or I shouldn't have let him make me believe those things about myself. But I couldn't help it at the time. And because that changed my mentality, the way I looked at myself, it's very difficult to change back. You don't walk out of a relationship and you're like, oh, I'm fine again. Like, everything that happened in that relationship that changed me is, you know, it's over. The relationship's over, therefore everything that I gained from the relationship is also gone. It doesn't work that way, and I'm very heavily impacted by every relationship that I have, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship. And I mean, people don't realize how heavily people impact each other, because I don't know, I guess there's just, things are taken more seriously if you can see it. So, you know, you can see physical abuse, you can see that someone's bruised or cut, or you know, you can see, for example, eating disorders. Like, I also struggled with an eating disorder, but it didn't work for me because my metabolism was too high. So nobody took me seriously when I said that I was having issues, except my mother. But nobody else really figured that I actually was having trouble with my eating because I wasn't getting any thinner. I found something on in the internet a while ago that was really, 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 really offensive. There was like a photo of a bigger girl, and she had been talking about how she was worried that she was possibly anorexic, and the comments on it were, you know, like, take a look at yourself, you're obviously not. And I mean, these things are states of mind, they're not physical states. You don't have to be skin and bones to be anorexic. You don't have to be bruised to have experienced abuse. I mean, when things aren't visible, they're ignored, which is why it's so easy to ignore also the whole thing with, like, slaughterhouses and stuff, because that's all hidden behind closed doors. It's hidden behind walls that we can't just go in and see through. I mean, there are resources available for all of these things, but people don't bother to look into them because that's painful, because that's difficult, because that would require confronting something that they'd never confronted before. And that is something that I deal with on a daily basis, because I have openly accepted these difficult facts and embraced them and tried to change them. But because I'm often very alone in that, it becomes significantly more difficult for me to make an impact. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. I'm never going to stop trying. I'm never going to abandon Reel, no matter if it stays at 74 likes and 19 followers on Facebook and Tumblr. I'm never going to not be vegan, even if I never influence anyone else to turn vegetarian or vegan in my life. I'm never going to start drinking. I'm never going to stop recycling. I will always, always, always do everything I can to make every single bit of difference that I can, because I know that even if nobody else does, at least my conscience is clear, and I know that I did the right thing, because I honestly couldn't deal with myself if I sat back and did nothing. I could never deal with myself. I cannot. Knowing that people are suffering, that animals are suffering, how can I stand back and do nothing? And I don't understand how anyone else can stand back and do nothing either. And I know people who say they're doing something because, you know, they eat, you know, free range, organic, grain-fed animals. Well, it's still murder. It's still death. It's still not fair. It's still cruel. It's still inhumane. It's still disgusting. So going halfway, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's almost more disrespectful than doing nothing. Because you're justifying it for yourself. You're making yourself believe that it's okay to do this because, you know, at least I'm not whatever. And I really, really don't appreciate it when people do that. It really frustrates me a lot. Yeah, so I'll probably go on little rants about each of those specific things, even though I did a little bit of a rant on veganism, in other videos, but that's my like kind of overall cover rant. Yeah, so hopefully you took something out of that. Let me know if any of that interested you, and maybe we can have a real discussion and hopefully accomplish something. That'd be pretty sweet. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you all have a lovely night.